That's okay. Aha! Hello, everybody. It's Natalie from Creative Makers. Okay, let's give you the report on the nose first before we do anything else.
Is this the first time you've been on camera?
Yeah. This is the first time they're seeing me with the nose patch. They saw me with black eyes.
Yikes.
Nobody's here yet anyway, so I'm just talking to myself, but that's okay. So I'm just going to give you the report. Had the surgery on Thursday. I feel fine. They've got me all casted up here. It's a little itchy at this point, but I'm okay. Hello, one person. This will come off this week, so maybe next week you'll see me without it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here today with the artist Sally Storch. I'm so excited to talk to her. I know practically nothing about her, except that we've been chatting for a few minutes, and now I feel like I know all about her. So with no further ado, this is Sally. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Natalie. Nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you too.
We haven't stopped talking since you walked through the door.
Well, you know, when you find a kindred spirit.
I believe that's true.
Yeah. So, hello, 3 people. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you my first question, and it's the only question I ask, and then everything goes off.
Will it flow, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It'll flow.
You'll flow it for me.
It'll flow. You don't have to worry.
I'm not that good at this. I like talking. I like talking to you.
This is what we're doing. You're talking to me.
Okay.
And then we'll see if anybody has questions. Hi, Clifton. You'll be fine. That's what he's telling you.
Okay, good. That's nice to hear from the audience.
All right. So my first and only question, and then it just goes from there, is tell me what it was like being a creative kid. What did that look like for you?
I'm trying to think what it was like, because I remember I grew up in, like, of all places, Newport Beach, which nobody grows up in Newport Beach and then moves to Pasadena. Usually it's the opposite way.
Yeah, hold on. Let me tell. Newport Beach is in Orange County in California, obviously at the ocean. So there you go.
And I think there was kind of a... and it's near Laguna, and that's kind of an artist colony.
Yeah.
And I just remember my mother, when I was about 6, taking me to watercolor lessons. And I remember loving it and starting then, painting. And then I got into horses, but I'd come home from the stables and I would just start painting.
Were your parents artists?
No.
No?
My aunt, I had 2 aunts that were really artists. One was on my mother's side, and she was the painter Stephanie Stockton, and she was an early California scene painter. And then my father's great aunt, this is very cool, she was kind of a rebel. She was really bohemian. She ended up living in Paris with Matisse, and there's all these, that's her. She ended up marrying an Arabian prince. I mean, she was wild. And this is in the turn of the century.
This is
in the
great.
1920s. And she lived a long time. So when I was little, she would take me. She had this old apartment in LA, and she would take me there, and we'd do pastels together. She was a painter too. So her name was Bertha Rahani.
Rahani.
Yeah, and she was
spell it R-A-H.
let me think. R-I-H-A-N-I.
Okay, Rahani.
Yes,
I'm gonna look that up.
and she was friends with all those guys. There's pictures of her at parties with Matisse and in books. I mean, it's really fun. So I don't know how much she influenced me. Probably more influenced me on a bohemian kind of life than the art. But so I loved it always. I always loved it.
So did it, now doing the watercolors as a child, I mean, did that grow into something else as you got older? I mean, what happened like in grade school and stuff?
I think grade school was grade school. I think I probably didn't do, if I look back, this is it's kind of terrible to admit, I probably should have been more focused on art in high school, let's say, or even going to college. I finally committed to an art major when I got to school.
So did you not know that you were an artist? I mean, I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, when I was 7, I knew already this is what I wanted to do. And then I talk to people that don't know at all. So you didn't know.
I didn't know. I knew I loved it. I knew I loved creativity. I loved making things. I knew all that. But I never believed, I never thought about, could I make a living doing art? And I had to think, what am I going to do? And I remember I went to Europe with 2 girlfriends right out of college, or kind of during college, and for about 4 to 6 months. I mean, we traveled around Europe, and I remember the night before I came home, I was like crying because I thought, I gotta figure this out. And when I came home, I thought, okay, I'm gonna do art, period. I loved it too much not to do it, but I thought, I'll teach art. So that's what I did. I got my teaching credential. I taught high school art in South Central LA for a while. And then I started painting, and it just little by little, I started making work that was selling. And I went down to the Laguna Festival. Have you heard of that? Yeah. And I got into that, and I remember that summer I made enough money to last until the following year. So that's kind of how it happened. And that was years ago.
So, okay, so you got a degree to teach art, but I mean, did you have like a practice? Did you have something that you were consistently doing in the background?
Yes, but I think that was hard to do. And I'm just going to be honest. I think it was really hard.
It's fine
to teach all day and come home with, I mean, I was 22 or 23, to come home and then be creative into the night and then get up and go teach all day again.
Yeah.
So at some point I thought, am I going to teach? And I loved teaching, but I didn't see my work getting ahead. I didn't see myself growing as much as a painter that I wanted to.
And so painting was the focus, though.
Yes. And not, maybe starting with watercolor, and then I met somebody who became my first husband, and he was a great painter, and he was into oils, and so he kind of guided me.
I was going to say, so he sort of mentored you, and this is how you use the oil. This is what you do.
Let's try this. Try this. You'll love this. And I loved it. So I really haven't done watercolors for a long time. So I find watercolors to be an evil medium. Do you? Do you really? I kind of get that. I sometimes have nightmares. No, I just remember going from light to dark.
It's so not forgiving.
No, it is not. It's not forgiving. And you can tell when it's not forgiving.
And I find that if you're a watercolorist, you have to be much more exact. And I'm much more fly by the seat of my pants sort of thing, you know.
Yes.
A watercolor does not like that.
Okay, I like the way you say that. That's good. I like that, Natalie. I got to remember that.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, I sometimes I think it would be fun to try it again because it's been years since I did it, but I'm having too much fun with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I hear you. So how did you get to your subject matter? Because your subject matter is so very Hopper-esque. And somebody even in the group said to me, it sort of reminded them of Norman Rockwell in a sort of funny way. I don't know if people have told you that before.
I've never heard that.
No? Well, there you go. They got a new one.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, was that just, you just loved his work and you just...
You know, it's funny because I always loved, this is interesting. When I was 7, I had an Edward Hopper poster up in my room.
Really?
Yes. Now,
what kind of 7-year-old were you that you had an Edward Hopper poster
I know the painting.
in your bedroom?
It's that one. It's maybe called Sunday Morning, and it has a clock in an empty store, kind of near a forest. And I'm so mad I don't have that poster. I was 7, and I don't even know where I got it.
I was gonna say, but you put it up.
I put it up. Yeah. So I always loved that, and maybe it's the feeling, the aloneness or the privateness of his work that I love. And I think I didn't start that way. I think it got more and more like that. I do love Edward Hopper's work. I really do. I don't think of Norman Rockwell as, I think he's amazing to look at what he did and what he can do. Yeah. What he could do, I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't think I line up as much with him as I do the feeling in a Hopper painting.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, just from the outside, that's what it seems like to me too. Right. But I mean, there's definitely a little bit of Rockwell. I mean, just I don't know, maybe something in.
Well, I love looking at his work. I don't know. And you know, it's funny that you asked that question because I realize with so much of my work, and I look at my old work, and you know, a lot of artists are horrified and paintings from 20 years ago or whatever. And I look at it sometimes and I think, I oftentimes don't know what I'm trying to say or what I am saying. I think sometimes the work leads me there before I have a clear picture in my mind why I'm doing this.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I find that to be very true. And I feel like if you line them up in chronological order, you can see.
It's pretty fascinating.
You can see that through line.
Right.
You know.
Where I was doing this then, but now this is this, and this has changed. And I don't consciously think that before I start a body of work.
Do you remember something pointed about seeing a through line that you might have seen in your work?
I remember times when something would happen that would take me in a direction. Like, I think one thing is, and I don't even know if you know this because a lot of people don't. If you go to my website, you can't see this, but I found there was a garage sale years and years and years ago, and there was a stack of newspapers, old newspapers. I thought, that's so cool. I'll buy them all. It's like, what, $1? I brought them home, and I spent like days going through these. And what was fascinating were the lost and found ads in these newspapers.
Yeah.
So I started cutting out just that page, the lost and found. And I remember this. And then I started thinking, these are so narrative. And this was, from the 20s, the 30s. Fascinating stuff. Like, giving their address. I lost pearl earring on the subway, Please return to blah, 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 Edith, blah, in this apartment.
God, it's a whole different world
Completely.
from what we're living in now.
So it's that. And I brought this stuff out because I still have them. And this is I still save them. This is just one. These are the ones I want to paint soon.
Here, I'm gonna just pick up one.
Yeah, they're just.
This is a box, you guys, that she has, an Edward Hopper box, by the way.
Yeah.
Of the lost and found ads from this one's dated 1945.
Yeah, they're just.
But I mean,
so
it's
cool.
just they're just little.
I mean, there's no more lost and found ads anymore.
I need my glasses.
I do too.
These.
I have these glasses. Hold on, I'll read you one.
Oh, she's gonna read one for us.
Okay, I don't know. This might be a bad one, but okay. $10 reward, platinum wristwatch, 38 diamonds, lost December 8th on the subway train, crosstown 50th Street bus. H.J. Payne, in parentheses, Mrs. 90 John Street, reward. And then the phone number has 5 numbers. BE 30280. How cool is that? I'm thinking...
This is a little piece of history right here.
Right.
For
I'm
sure.
thinking, okay, this is so fun. And I could do a whole painting on that.
How would you use that those words and stuff to inspire your painting?
Well, okay. So then I have a book.
Journal, you guys.
A journal that has what painting it was, where it is, what it was, of every one that I've used. This is just...
So you use them as inspiration for what that might look like in your mind?
Yes. Wow. And then I oftentimes will engrave them into the frame of the painting. So you can walk up.
So just to decipher for you all, she is taking just one of those ads, and she's using it as inspiration for her work, and then she glues it into her notebook here with what work she did that went with it.
Right, which painting it was. Like, look at this. Listen, this just kills me. Will young lady who refused seat on 23rd Street car and alighted at 8th Avenue early Wednesday evening communicate with a gentleman going to 9th Avenue? And then...
Was this like a love connection?
Yes. So I just called the painting Early Wednesday Evening, and it was a big painting. So I just remember that moment and going in that direction, and that was really fun. So my paintings obviously are narrative.
Yeah.
But this was a jumping off point.
But this is such a great jump off point.
Isn't it fun?
Yes.
I know.
Who would ever thought? I never would have thought of that as for inspiration.
I didn't see it coming. Well, I just bought a stack of old newspapers. So I still got a body of work right here that I'm about to start to do. that now that summer's over, I can get back.
And are you going to be using this method as again?
I think so, because I have enough that I lay awake at night and think, I really want to do that one. I really want to do that.
And so you find the ad, and then are you just like thinking about what it says and thinking about what did that look like back in the day?
Not as much as it just hits me, and I think, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to do this. And then I have a couple of young women that I work with lately that will model for me, so I can get them to model whatever I'm thinking would work.
So that you have the right proportions.
Yeah.
This is great. And is that why your work is sort of focused on a time before?
You know, people ask me that, and I don't mean my work to be nostalgic. I'm not sure I like the word nostalgic. I'm not trying to go back to a different place, but I think what I'm trying to do is I'm omitting things that I choose to omit, things that I'm not crazy about. I don't consciously think, oh, I want this to look like the 40s or the 50s or the 30s. I just think, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not even sure of that. I want a female looking, like in this one, which isn't done, by the way.
Behind us.
There's a female looking at, and she looks totally 40s or 50s, very simple.
Yes.
Looking at an abstract piece of art.
Yes.
And so I thought, it's kind of fun for her to not understand that, but this is maybe a moment when she starts to understand it. So that doesn't have a lost and found ad, but I'm thinking, and then I think, I don't want signage. I want to show a little life maybe, and maybe back there, but I'm thinking, I don't want to mess it up with a lot of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To you?
Yes.
So I'm not consciously thinking, I want this to look like it was this era.
You know what, but you know what's funny is because I'm looking at this and I'm like, old buildings exist today.
Right.
They look just like this.
Right.
But
they're junked out too sometimes. More than I.
But the thing that gives you that feeling of time is the woman in her outfit. Because if I put a youngster in here wearing a leather jacket and spiked hair,
right,
you'd be like, oh this is now,
right,
or this was 20 years ago.
And why do I not put him in there? I don't know. What's that about? But I know I don't want to yet.
Yeah.
At least the work I'm doing now, I think I don't want to put a leather jacket. Or it's just funny, and I think in a way, these women, because I'm doing a series of them, are almost a vehicle in a way for what I'm trying to say. It's not as much, oh, this is about her. It's about a vehicle for women.
Right. Do you find that people that buy your work, are they mostly women or mostly men?
Mostly men.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
I tell all my friends this. I'm kind of astounded by it, because a lot of it is people that see my website or contact me online. The last, I'd say 4 or 5 commissions I've done in the last year, 2 years, let's say, it's been all men. Right? And they're all married and they're nice, and I meet the wife and she's lovely, but it's just interested that they're the ones reaching out.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. I have a theory.
What's your theory?
Okay. I could get myself into trouble here, couldn't I?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what your theory is. Could you?
I think that our lives are so fast now, and there's so much other stuff, technological. I mean, everything. I think there's probably desires to go back to a simpler time in a way, and I think for some men, and they're all in middle age, I think this is simple to look at. I think in a way it's not as challenging or a negative thing. It's really a kind of phenomenon to me that men are my clients mostly. From online, I mean,
I'm just like, God, this could be
simple,
so many different
what
directions.
Do you think?
I mean, I'm like, I can understand how if male. I'm sorry if you guys are
Men, because I know
men,
you're good men.
men watching that don't agree with what I might say next. I'm wondering if there's some men who feel the loss of control, so to speak.
I didn't want to say that,
but the loss of control of women and society and everything else, and it's sort of all out of their hands. That this is sort of like maybe a reminder to a time when there was some sort of control over women, or over the way people thought.
Right. I believe it's true. I mean, there's something to that. And I have to add, every single one of these men are terrific men. Yeah. Accomplished, kind. They're all happily married.
I also wonder if it's like some sort of like subconscious honoring of women.
Could be.
They've
almost all of them have become friends of both Ray and mine.
So interesting.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me too. I'm always
this psychological bent to the work is always interesting to me.
And I don't know, and that goes along with, well, why am I painting this? What is it I'm trying to say? And why are these men responding to it?
This is going to be a weird question. In work that you do that's not associated with a commission or anything, do you often start a painting and think about who it might be for?
No,
you don't have. You don't. Sometimes I do paintings and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of a friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know
you
why.
You mean she'll love this, or
I'm just like, I don't know why this is for her, and then I don't even say anything, and then they end up buying
That's
it.
interesting.
I've had a couple of those.
Really?
Happen. Yeah.
And they buy it?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
They just see it and they're
and
like,
you
oh,
have
I want
thought,
it.
I mean, were they interested in buying a painting from you to begin with? You didn't even know that. That's really interesting. No. So you know them well, and you know what.
I was.
But you would paint it
their
anyway.
friends are. Yeah, it was just a painting that I was painting anyway, and as I was painting it, I was like, oh, so and so used to like this. I remember, and I was sort of feeling love for them while I was painting it.
While you were painting it,
and
that's really cool.
Never even said anything.
I don't ever think that. The only thing I think of is people that I admire a lot. That I think, okay, I want them to like this, maybe. But I never think, oh, my girlfriend's going to love this, or this guy's going to love this. But I love that you're thinking of somebody. Somebody comes to mind
just
while you're making
accidental. Art. And I don't know if they're calling me, like subconsciously, telepathically saying, Allie, make me a painting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's really neat. I like that.
It's interesting.
I don't do that, and I don't know why. But maybe I'm so desperate to get time to work that I'm just kind of clearing my head.
Like I said, I don't even know what to make out of that, honestly speaking.
But it's a nice thing.
So in your explorations of actually getting to where your art looks now, how many, I know it's many, 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 but what was your trajectory like? I mean, did you start in one style and sort of migrate to this one? Was there something else you started with, or was this always the style that you envisioned yourself painting in?
This is interesting. I talk about this with Ray, my husband, who's a painter, as you know. He just dives in and starts painting.
Yeah.
I have a vision of when I sit down of where I want to go with the painting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In an ideal world, if I could pull this off, I'd love to pull that off. The vision that I have. Mm-hmm. And so I start there. It doesn't ever get there, but I have a vision of it, and then the trajectory kind of goes in that direction. But it changes. I'll look at something and think that's so not working. I got to change this up. But also, I was going to say, when I'm painting, I oftentimes will turn them upside down and look at them. Do you ever do that?
Yes.
Because that really helps.
Yeah. Also, I find that just walking away from them for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then coming back and then I'm like, even
that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Or sometimes even taking a picture and seeing it completely compressed.
Right.
I can see it better sometimes too. Yeah.
Yeah. And putting it aside, and then I'll pick another one up, and then it becomes very clear sometimes what's not right about the painting, or what's bugging me,
or what's perfect,
or what I really like.
Yeah.
And then I'll take that area and say, I want the rest of this to be like that level.
Yeah.
So, and I think we were talking earlier, it takes time. My paintings take time. They really do, more so now. And I don't know what that's about. I don't know why. And I also panic because I'm getting older. And I think, some in history, there have been artists who get like worse when they get old. I'm not going to mention names.
Don't mention names.
I'm not going to. But I know, 100 years ago, there were a couple painters that you see their later work and you feel bad. They were maybe half blind, or I don't know what it was.
But do you think that, I always wonder though about artists. It's sort of like you grow up learning how, you're learning how to do this and you're feeling really tight about it, and you get really tight, and then as you get older and you get used to what you do, you sort of loosen up. And I feel like in the end, when you're really loose, when you're really...
That's the best.
Yeah, I feel like it becomes one stroke. Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, I don't want to ever lose that, right?
Right. But I also feel like when you're talking about painters that let their work degrade, is it that? Is it that?
Well, I don't think they even know it. I think it just isn't what... I'm going to get myself into trouble. It's like they have a peak. They're dead. They're long dead. I just know sometimes, I'll look at work towards the end of somebody's life or towards the end of their career. That's not the quality maybe that it was 30 years prior to that. I think that's okay to say.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been painting for a lot of years, and I think I want my paintings to get better as I get old. I really do. I want to end with the best work I've done. So I'm conscious of that all the time.
But the vision of what is better, I think, morphs, right?
You think what?
I think the vision of what you think is better like 20 years ago and what you think is better now changes. And it may not change in the same direction that it was going in when you were 20.
I just think I just know what's good for myself. I know when I'm good and when I'm not good. So...
In the group, I'm gonna. Here, there's something coming up here, and her work is technically exacting, wonderful. Not to mention the undertow of composition. This is okay. I'm just.
Are these what people?
Yeah, I'm just checking to see. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you what they're saying.
Okay.
So Clifton says it's like Americana. Maya says that she loves
He's
Hopper.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Clifton also says it's about perspectives. Kathy's watching. Hi, Kathy. It's peaceful work and masculine. He finds your work masculine. It's a
Is that Clifton again?
Yes.
Okay.
And Clifton also says it's a respite for our crazy techno lives. So
he's right.
He said when we were talking about men mostly buying your work and maybe thinking about
from the tech. Yeah, that's what I think. That's the only solution.
And then he talks about your work is technically exacting and wonderful, not to mention the undertow of composition.
That's very nice. Thank you, Clifton.
But you know what? We were having an interesting conversation in this group. Somebody posted, I guess, Cy Twombly. There's a retrospective going on right now. Mm-hmm. And somebody posted...
Love his work.
Wait. So somebody posted a piece of his work, and it was some of the giant scribbles that are on yellow with red,
Right.
And the price tags, $2 to $75 million. It's, he's passed. He's not making any more work. So his work his work is getting more and more expensive. But it was really interesting to me because there was quite a conversation going on about people were like, my grandchild could have done this. Why is this making this kind of money? And I was trying to talk to them about, I understand that this may not be your cup of tea. I get it. I said, but somebody had to do this first, and somebody had to actually believe in their work enough to
do it.
And
they did it. That's what I always think. They did it.
And they did it. And they believed in it enough to show it.
And they kept going. And I would love to hear what you have to say.
Well,
because I get that all the time.
Well, and I was thinking about how much they were arguing back and forth, and they were just like, this is atrocious.
It's like Pollock. It's the same thing.
Right. Pollock has this sort of thing
my
too.
4-year-old can do that. And
I was like, whether you love or hate his work, this work is doing its job. It's creating
That's
an
good.
emotion.
Well said.
It's creating an emotion in you, and you guys are talking about this and debating it and everything else. It is doing its job.
That's great.
Right?
That you put it very well. Yes. And they did it. When they said, well, my 4-year-old could do that. I said, but he didn't, did he?
Right. But he didn't, and I'm not on that scale.
No. And there's something about Cy Twombly's work I love. Most of it I love. Almost all of it. So same thing with Pollock. I mean, and if you get a good book and read the history of the person and what they did and what they believed and how they,
right, it sort of defines it a bit more.
But you had a good answer. That's
well,
good.
and I went ahead and I checked him out on Wikipedia for God's sakes, and I was like, "What's this guy about? I don't know anything about him. So let's learn a little bit of something before I make a snap judgment here."
And it's also a very personal thing,
right?
So you're going to get a lot of people that don't understand that, like Norman Rockwell, that will not like Cy Twombly.
Right. But I mean, going back to the conversation that we were having about people's work degrading or changing as they get older into something that maybe wasn't as work heavy or as intensive, or I don't even know what the right word is.
I don't either. And that person probably didn't think about it and thought, this is new stuff. I'm doing this and I love it. And then he died. So me looking at it, it might not be my cup of tea.
Right.
But I'm not going to say names. but honestly, I don't think that the artists who were doing it thought that.
Right. But I'm sure that they had their own moment.
But I don't want to be that one of those artists.
Right.
I want...
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I'm not...
So every painting I'm thinking, I want to make this a really good painting and spend time on it. And I do.
Do you ever do clunkers?
I don't let them out of here if I do. I sand them down. I use a sander.
Yeah,
and then that's kind of cool to paint on a sanded painting. Yeah. So yes, of course. Yeah.
Do you are you working mostly on canvas, or
canvas pretty much?
Canvas?
Yeah, canvas, stretch canvas, and
are you prepping it with extra gesso or anything?
Yeah.
I'm getting technical.
No, it's okay. I do, and I sand between layers. I don't know why I'm taking more time with my paintings. We actually have a guy who makes our big canvases.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then for extra money, he will gesso them. But then I always give them, it's funny, my own coat of gesso, because I think it's like anything. It's in the prep, right? A lot of it is.
Do you varnish your work? Because I'm looking at it, and it doesn't look varnished to me. But then again,
this one is not even close to being done. I keep thinking I'm really excited about this painting, and
here I'm gonna. Do you mind if I turn the camera?
No, not at all. But it really is not done.
I'm gonna turn the camera so you guys can see what we're looking at.
So this is
one. Hold on while I get you over here.
I wanted to paint this street corner, and
I'm just gonna hold that. Go ahead and talk about it.
But it's so not done. I started putting little paintings.
I was tricked into thinking it was done because it has a frame on it.
Right.
Did you just do that to see how it would look? And
I just wanted to make sure I liked the margins of the painting. Like this is not, any of it is done. Now I see. Is going to change. It's called Sunday Night Loose Horse.
Okay.
So he's out, but I started thinking I wanted to show life up there. But I'm starting to put these little paintings inside store windows.
You're putting paintings in your paintings?
Paintings in my paintings. And that's a hopper. And it was really fun to do that. These little miniature, like you would know miniature, right?
Yeah.
It was really fun to do. And what I've learned, I could show you another, well,
here. Yeah, show us.
Okay, hold on.
I love it when people pull out work.
Because there's another one that I put a little painting in. And what I learned in doing that, I don't know if you can turn. Can I just hold it up?
You can hold it up, or I can hold it up and you can talk about it.
I can do this. So this is...
We can use the chairs.
Yeah.
You want to use the chairs as a place to hold it up?
If that works. This is another...
oh, there goes my water.
That's
on
okay.
The floor.
No worries.
I'm going to clean that up in just a second. Sorry, you guys.
This is another one, and she happens to be walking by, but this is another Oh, this was the poster in my room.
Oh, that was a.
Yeah. So I put that, and one thing I learned, and I did 2 so far with little hopper painting, I learned how good he was, how good he is. Copying his painting.
Right.
Little. He's amazing. His
perspective
perspective, but his composition is killer. And I learned, it's really fun to do this. And I don't know, this used to have...
You really see the rule of
this
thirds
is the
in there.
third thing I put in this painting. And then I sand it down. It had a dollhouse before. And then I sanded it down. So this is ongoing as well, this painting. So all of a sudden, I've got like 4 or 5 paintings of women looking into these windows. I don't know what that's about.
Huh.
You know? So it's funny.
Looking into the past, looking into the future.
Or maybe their life is changing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I spilled water. I have to clean this up now.
You sit down.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna just throw
towel?
you a towel.
Yeah.
No, you don't need a paper towel here.
Whatever you
You
got.
can't hurt this floor.
This is a really old home, just so you know. It's what, 100 years old at least?
Yeah, 1916.
16.
And it was really fun to go through the attic too and find stuff.
Oh, really? Is that how it worked out?
Yeah, and like old newspapers in the attic too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay,
It's fine.
I
You
know.
can't hurt it.
All right. I just don't want to slip. I don't want you to slip.
No.
All right, back. Here we are. We're back. Okay. Here, let's get you back into the frame. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Woo! So, how many? I know we talked about it being months that. Hi, puppy.
Hi.
Months that it takes for paintings to be done. But I mean, do you work every day?
That's my rule now.
Now.
Yes, because it's so easy to get off track. And I could fill my day with fertilizing my plants. Or there's a great book out called, I always forget the title, isn't that terrible? The War of Art. And it's how artists avoid working.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I might have to read that.
I have it for you.
You have a copy for me?
I got one for you, yeah. It's a great book. And it's short and it's not complicated. But, you know, I could every day fill it with fertilizing my plants. Maybe I'll make dinner tonight. I'll clean out my sock drawer, whatever.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now I think I have to get in there and get my hours in. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I love when I hear about artists that are actually treat their artwork like a job, and
You have to.
well, and the people that are lucky enough to have studios away from their homes, although I also think that's unlucky in some ways, but where they're like, see you later, honey, I'm going to the studio, I'm going to the artist, I'll see you in 5 hours, 8 hours, or however long it takes you.
It's so true.
And they just go, I just do it Monday through Friday, and then I give myself weekends off, or whatever it is that they do.
It's true. My husband who passed away, he was a painter, and we had 3 boys, and they were little, and they loved playing with them, and he would build things with them. And there was a time when he would have to put on a tie, and he'd get dressed and go out the front door and say goodbye, he's going to work, and sneak around to the back and go to work in the studio, because they would want to come, and he adored them, but he wouldn't get anything done. He never. So he faked them out for about a year before they started preschool. But he was leaving for work, and it was fine to work. But you kind of have to do that, I think.
Right.
And now they're young adults, all 3 of them, so they get it too. I mean, we laugh about it now, but it's funny to think back. You have to do that.
How do you your current husband is a painter, and you're both successful. How is it living with another? I mean, your first husband was a painter as well, so
Yes.
I mean, you sort of got this down, I guess. But what's it like being with another creative person in such a close knit?
It's
way?
not always easy.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, being married's not easy. Let's face it.
No, and I think really he's current husband, very private with what he does. He doesn't want me to comment on any, until it's done, until it's finished. And then we have great conversations. So I just kind of leave him alone. My first husband always had a studio away until he got sick. And then he it converted the garage into a workspace. So really, it's kind of we're pretty separate when we work. We don't ever collaborate.
No.
Yeah, because you do with your husband.
Yes.
You do music together, which is great.
Yeah.
So
That's another story.
yeah. So I think but it's working.
Oh yeah, it works. You know, it's you do this sometimes,
right?
You know, but you do that anyway.
And exactly.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't always agree, but we've figured out a way to make it all work, and it works well. So.
How different are you two in the way you think? I mean, because I always think about creative people being a certain way, myself included in this group. And that
you mean, and with girlfriends or boyfriends or spouses
I don't know. Sometimes I think of creative people being really. I don't. You know what? This question isn't valid in any way, shape,
ask
or form.
because I'm not sure what you mean.
I'm not sure what I mean either. I was just thinking about, you know, sometimes working with another person who has the kind of imagination that you have.
Well, I'm always, let me say this, very supportive. He's very supportive, as was my first husband, in what I'm doing.
Well, he led me to you. I mean, he's like, you should talk to Sally.
Right.
She's great.
Right. Well, that was nice.
You'll love her.
But I'm probably more critical. I'm probably more easier for me to say something I don't like, and I've got to be careful about that. I got to watch that. Because they've both been very supportive over the years. And I love Ray's work, you know that. And I love
Ray's work.
I loved Richard's work. So it's all good, but I don't think I ever think of it as collaborating. And we're totally different. I mean, look how different our work is.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
Right. So, you know, vive la
difference.
Right, right. So that's good. I could talk about another thing that in doing the narrative paintings, where I was going with that I think I'm kind of fascinated with the thought that how life can change in an instant.
Yeah.
For so many people.
Yeah.
No matter what, everybody's life has that in it. And I think that's one thing that my work is becoming more about. That, for instance, the Lost and Found ads, I took off from what it was that he or she lost to what happened because of it. So the visual of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I'm thinking more about in any given day, for any person, for everybody on this earth, one thing, one moment can happen and change your life forever, or the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
And I like to look at it as a positive thing, mostly, and to make something positive out of it.
Right.
So that kind of was another jumping off place that I really took kind of seriously in my work.
Do you see your own life narrative in your work?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, you know, people have accused me who know about art. These are self-portraits.
Well, they're all self-portraits as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Every piece of work that you do, not just you, but everybody.
One does. Whether it's about music, but
it's all
a
a self-portrait.
Right. So then I think, what does that mean? You know, some women have suitcases and they're headed out the door. I start thinking, okay, is that really what I want to do?
I'm thinking?
Yeah.
You know, you could pull that off.
Because I
so
paint
many different
before
levels,
I can
though.
think, right, of what it is I'm painting.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, you know, I'll have a loose idea of somebody on a subway or of somebody that's going somewhere of what I want it to look like. But then when it's all done, I think, is that me doing that? I don't know. It's funny.
Something. Some part of you, maybe.
Yeah, and it's hard to talk about, too.
Yeah.
Like today is hard for me. I don't often...
Really?
Well, I love talking to you, but to talk about work is hard. It's a private thing within me that, you know, what I'm trying to think what Edward Hopper's, it was such a great line. He said, if I could talk about it, why would I paint it? And I thought, wow, that's kind of...
Right.
there's a need.
It is like that. You're getting out your innermost feelings that maybe you're not even in realization to.
Right. There's a need for expression that I have in me.
Do you
like most people do in some form?
Yeah. Outside of like this work, do you have do you ever long to do abstracts? I mean, something completely different. You do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any? Are you thinking
see those
about
racks over there? There's stuff in there that I kind of started. I think it's harder than I thought. And one of our sons is a painter.
Yes.
And he's an abstract painter. So we get into these great discussions. But I think, in a way, that's what this is going to be about. Because she's
looking at
an abstract piece. So it was kind of fun painting a tiny little abstract. No, I do.
This is funny because maybe you are this person.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Yeah. We don't know, but
we don't know
we'll
yet.
See. Yeah. Come back in a year and we'll talk about
That's
it.
so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. So I think Ray has the same issue. I mean, I think sometimes he'd love to do figurative. Well, he does. He does the heads.
The heads. Yeah, the faces.
Yeah, but then he does these big abstract landscapes. So I think most artists have a pull.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Does anybody have any questions? There's only two.
Are these mostly artists?
Yes, they're all artists.
That's so cool.
So let me see what's going on here.
Do you need glasses?
No, I got this. I'm good. So Clifton, I wonder a bit if she has a subgenre all her own. Her work is so great.
Aw, he's nice.
He's very nice. Hearing her speak tells me she has an abstract quality to her ideation and execution.
That's interesting.
Fodder. This is fodder for you.
Now you're getting me on my, oh my gosh, my whole paintings are going to change.
Oh.
No, it's good. It's a good thing. I love hearing that.
It's interesting.
Wouldn't that be fun? I know I'd use a sander. I know I would. I love doing those sanders. That's interesting.
Because this work is really very exact.
Mm-hmm.
And there's such beauty and organization to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I always wonder about what the antithesis feels like. You know?
I don't know, but I do
it's
fight
scary.
with that monster, the exact monster. I do fight with him because I constantly am saying, loosen up, quit this. This is what's going to make you an old lady. Because this is the other thing. I tell my son and I talk about this. Like Grandma Moses, which she started painting when she was in her 80s, right? And I think why she was successful is because she had a direction and she believed in herself. Even though her perspective was off and this was off and this didn't matter. She dove in and she did it. And that's, if you can hold on to that, no matter what you're painting, and do it. Just do it and do it in a strong way and in a way that you believe in. It's going to work.
Goes back to Cy Twombly. I mean,
absolutely.
Our discussion about
absolutely.
Cy. And he believed in his work.
Well, okay, think about this. I mean, today's art world, in LA anyway, there's very few galleries that would handle representational work like I do.
Right.
And, I have a couple of consultants that I work with, and there's a couple of galleries down south that I work with, and one on the East Coast. But that being said, I can't let that get to me. I can't think about that. I don't want to think about that. I want to be in my studio, me painting what I feel like painting, and not worrying about the rest of it. Yeah. And it's taken me years to get there, because I used to think, oh God, what are people going to say? I'm doing this representational work, but no, it's my own work, and I love doing it, and I have to believe in it.
It's funny. I think art critics and gallery owners are the people that don't want to see representational work. But out in the real world, I think they really want to see representational work.
I get emails. I can't answer the emails I get. And I don't, that's a whole nother thing. Social media, I'm terrible at it. I have a Instagram thing I'm supposed to post.
Yeah.
I've posted 2 paintings in 5 years.
I checked.
I'm terrible.
I checked.
I don't want to spend my time doing that. I want to just spend my time working.
Yeah.
So it's really, interesting. It's refreshing to hear you say that there are people out there that love representational
They
work.
love representational work. They want representational
Mm-hmm.
work. They love it when things look like the way they think they're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to look, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't look crazy or skewed or
Right.
whatever word
I
you want
used
to
to
put with
worry.
things. You know, like Salvador Dali starts to
Right.
get into that melty
Right.
stuff.
And there's
People don't
good,
want to see that.
really good non-representational work.
Very good.
I love it all. But who I am, what I do is this. And it took me years to get here and to believe in what I do.
You know, it's really interesting because now that I've gotten to know you a little bit, you are super deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
You're a deliberate person. You're a deliberate personality. Everything, I feel like things that you do have intention behind them always. Nothing's willy-nilly about you.
No.
It shows in your work. It's
Right.
like the way you are is the way your work is.
It took years to not care what people thought about that I'm a representational painter. And believe me, I still, I could suffer from it today even, with groups of people and different art groups, but I don't anymore. That's the one thing I've grown into.
Yeah.
That I know, if nobody ever buys another painting, I'm still going to paint what I want to paint and love it and want to do what's in here.
I think that's how you
and not apologize for it. I used to apologize,
I think as women, we apologize way too much for way too many things. Ugh.
Yeah.
How this is sort of a technical thing unrelated to working, but how did you find people to represent you? You were talking about you have people representing you, and you
funny.
have how did that come
about? It is a really good question because my son, is young,
right, and he's looking for this,
and he's looking for that, and I think so many of the people we started with are either dead or their galleries are closed or they've moved or they've retired.
Right.
So there's not this ongoing thing. I think in those days, I hate to say this, it maybe was easier before the internet in a way, because we'd have our slides, we would apply to different galleries. It was not easy, but my husband and I did that for a long time. And then there was a gallery, once you're in the gallery and they pick you up, more people would see you.
Right, other galleries.
We were established before the computer came. We were established artists. So we didn't really ever have that problem. We worked hard at getting recognized, I think, in the 80s, maybe.
Recognition now is a whole different thing.
It's a whole different thing. And my son keeps saying, Mom, I got to post. I haven't posted in 3 days.
Right.
I'm like, okay. I don't need to, but
it's true. I mean, because I'm a social media being,
right.
Because this is what I do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, as you know, posts.
Yes.
I don't. I have an aversion to it. I should probably pay you for therapy because I really do. I think maybe because I figure why am I spending my time doing this? I probably need like an assistant.
You probably do.
Yeah. Which
you and I'll talk after,
okay,
and I'll give you some good reasons why you should post.
But I think today, I think you just have to get out there. You have to get into these group shows. You have to pop-ups are a big thing today that people do, and I would advise a young painter to do that. You have to be seen. Yeah. Instagram.
Right. You have to get out there. You have to be social too, even just in the real world.
Yeah. Show up.
Go to other people's shows, talk to people,
Absolutely.
Make friends, be part of groups.
And it helps if where you work, there are other artists.
Yeah. A
studio.
Yeah.
Situation. We kind of got in before we needed to worry about that. So I because I really don't care anymore. I just want to work.
Right.
So, but Ray would argue with me about that because I should be doing Instagram then.
Like I said, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
So I think in the 80s, maybe it was a little bit easier for us to knock on a gallery door. I have a funny story about my husband that he couldn't, and he was an amazing painter. Really, truly, Richard Bunkall.
Richard Bunkall, if you want to look him up.
Look him up. he couldn't get into an LA gallery because of representational work. And I actually, for him, when we first got married, wrote a letter to the gallery he wanted to be in. I wrote a fake letter asking from a made-up name that I was a big East Coast collector. Do you know the artist Richard Bunkall in Los Angeles? That you're interested in his work. And I sent this letter to the gallery director. And it worked. She found him and she called and she said, I'd love to look at your stuff. She didn't know anything about him. And he got into that gallery, and it was probably a 30-year relationship.
Because you made a fake letter.
Because I made a fake letter. And then, of course, we had to tell her that 10 years in. You know.
How did she handle that?
Oh, she loved us. She laughed. She said, you're kidding. That letter I got? And I said, yeah, it was from me. But I wouldn't advise this for anybody. But in the 1980s, it worked. So
I love that.
Anyway, creative thinking, I guess.
That's what it takes.
You know what? I knew that he deserved it. And
right. Well, of course.
Right.
I mean, you were like, you need to be in a studio.
Yeah.
Let's get you in a studio. What can
gallery.
I do?
Yeah. And I would always kind of follow him in. So that was good too.
Yeah, that's right. It's nice to be. It's nice to ride on somebody's coattail sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it works. Whatever works.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we are almost at noon. We've been talking about an hour.
I've enjoyed this so much.
I
hope it was normal.
Let me make sure. Here. Let's just make sure and see what's going on here. Okay. So Clifton's asking, why isn't representational work and much figurative work considered an adjunct of abstract work? Got an answer for that? I don't know what the answer is.
I see it that way, right?
Do you think...
I see it as steps, and I don't know, that's a really good question. I think...
I mean, I guess that answer would be subjective. I mean, because if a gallery owner doesn't see it that way.
Right. And it's their prerogative.
Right.
If they open up a space and they love abstract work and that's what they want to show, go for it. Do it. I just say everybody needs to believe in what they love and what they do. And
right. I think the normal trajectory too is working tight to working loose as you go along in life. You know, you have to learn all the steps and procedures and be able to replicate things.
And that's a balance.
Right. In order to then de-evolve, so to speak.
Right.
Into the most important pieces of that painting.
Right. It's true.
Most important strokes. So.
And sometimes just drawing a painting out for me and then putting it upside down on the easel, I can see the abstraction in it. And it's really fun to do that and think, what if I just made it, I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to. I want to start. I want to see what it would be like. And I might hate it, but maybe I won't.
Ever paint with your left hand just to try it out?
Sometimes I do. I think what I do more of is paint sideways or paint upside down. Just shape, so I can get shape and composition, so it's working. It never fails. If there's something wrong with a painting and I don't know what it is, when I turn it upside down, I zero in.
You can find it.
I can find it in 10 seconds. That's
good trick.
The problem. It's such a good trick.
It's a good trick.
It has to work every way.
With perspective sort of things too, especially when you're dealing with architecture and that sort of thing. That,
but just a weak part of the painting that isn't working. It's amazing to me.
Interesting.
How it works. Yeah.
Let's see. I intend to follow this fine artist, this fine woman.
Oh, who is that?
That's Clifton. It's your
he's great.
You're a big fan.
My friend. See?
Your friend.
A young man, right?
Clifton just had I'm going to talk about you, Clifton. Clifton just had his very first show.
No.
Yeah, just like in the last couple of weeks.
Where?
In Detroit.
No
yeah,
way.
In Detroit.
He had his
very first show, and it's up for a month. And
that's so exciting. Will you give me his name and everything so I can look it up?
Yes.
Clifton, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How exciting. Yeah,
and
of all places, Detroit, which I think is like a fascinating city.
It's, and
amazing.
Apparently having a nice little resurgence right now in a big artist community. So
that's
nice.
Really cool.
Clifton works mostly only abstractly as far as I know, and works with a dip pen and
Cool.
acrylic paints and inks.
Really?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I can't wait to look at
Yeah,
the
super
show.
Cool. Super cool
Do you have
stuff.
the gallery name and everything, or do I just go to his website?
It was part of a big art walk.
Okay.
So as far as I know, it's in like the upstairs portion of a restaurant.
Okay. Very cool.
I'll
Congratulations.
post some pictures and I'll show you.
Okay. That's awesome.
Well, I don't want to keep you anymore because you've been gracious enough to give us
It was
an
really
hour of
fun.
your time.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I hope I made sense. I'm going to look back and think, what was I talking about? Probably.
No, you did great.
All right.
All right.
You. Bye, guys.
Anyway, you guys have a very beautiful Sunday.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week, hopefully without a bandage, and we'll talk.
Go to work.